episode 4 of the amazing people of Glastonbury, and today I've got with me Pock the Bard. He's our actual Bard of Glastonbury. He's been voted in. He's been our Bard for 2 years running now. And if you've ever walked down the high street and heard Pock telling a story, you know how enthralling he is. But to talk more about what bards are, what they do, we're going to ask Pock himself. Hey Pock.
Hi.
How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm being a bard. Oh, yes, I'm such a bard. Yeah. And I know all about what it is to be a bard, so...
Ask away.
If only you knew.
The bards are one of the most ancient guilds. Bards are as old as time themselves, and they've always been the most traditional history keepers and storytellers. So we've had bards in all of the old courts.
According to records, yeah.
And what better place to be doing that and keeping that tradition and history alive than Glastonbury? What's your favourite thing about being Glastonbury's bard? What's your favourite thing? I'm going to rephrase that. What's your favourite thing about being a bard and storytelling in general?
Itself.
Telling the stories.
Yeah, the thing itself.
Sharing the ideas. Do you remember how old you were when you told your first story?
No, but I know that all my life people have called me weird.
What is weird? What is weird even?
Ask them.
I know. There's one thing that Glastonbury teaches you is that everyone's a little bit weird in their own special way.
Well, it was always put on me since I was that I was weird and wonderful, or weird, and then I suppose people didn't like it when I didn't really want to start reading. Not really. I was happy. And then when it was like time to get a job, of course, people then being weird wasn't good anymore because you didn't want a job, because the reasons for you were weird were they got the word precisely right. I've been saying this recently. Oh, I know why people call me weird. It's because they're connecting with the old meaning of it.
What is the old meaning of it?
Well, you spell it with a rune. A ye. It's like a Y. A ye. I don't know really. I'm Old English or before. Like a Y shape. A ye. Weird. It's kind of like the indivisible connectivity of all phenomena in all strata of existence and non-existence. Did I say connectivity? The wovenness of things. When you explode them, or things die, things come to life again. They regenerate. This is the weird, and
It's a constant cycle.
People might not notice that there's a connectivity.
Yeah.
So they call people who notice that weird.
So the other word for weird could be observant.
Could be.
And, well, that is something about bards. You have to be observant because you pick up on human nature and cycles. You see the patterns and you narrate them back. So in a way, bards are mirrors, aren't they? They mirror back the world to us in a beautiful and poetic way.
It's not very beautiful,
song.
actually. Quite a lot of it. Make it beautiful. It makes sense out of the difficulty of austerity of existence. It's a beautiful sunny day today, but people are not very far away suffering. It doesn't matter to me whether it's sunny or a thunderstorm. If I'm not happy in myself, then that's not happiness. I guess we've had a big theme recently with the COVID-19 or whatever you want to call it. People are making a big thing about this isolation. Everything's suddenly isolated, but I think it was much like that before.
People just didn't notice it because it wasn't enforced. And the minute it became a rule, it became a problem.
I do hope people don't let themselves get herded.
Yeah.
To the abattoir. The human abattoir. Yeah, I don't want that.
Yeah. What would be your best advice to people
I
during
don't
this
give
time?
advice.
What would be your message to the world?
Don't really want to give a message. I already did that. It's like, be yourself.
Yes.
I don't actually want to give a message as if I had something to say, as if people would actually listen or not listen, or as if people would have an opinion or something about what it was that they thought that I was saying. That's
Yeah.
rubbish. I don't know, so people have an opinion about me because they get it wrong. They're not me. I'd like people to just go into the music.
Yeah. So, Pock, out of all the stories you've told on the high streets of Glastonbury, which has been your favourite storytelling moment? Do you have one that sort of stands out in your mind as like, I'm the storyteller of Glastonbury and this is magical. Like, I love what I do. I love my job. Do you remember any of those moments?
My job. I don't know if I could pin it down to any one moment. I'd have to look to the whole trajectory of the entire thing, because
You've been doing this for a long time, haven't you? How long
Yeah,
have you been
even
living in Glastonbury?
well, look, I've visited Glastonbury since about 1983 or before. I'm that old.
And you've
So,
seen the high street change a lot.
Yeah, I never noticed change that much, but it has more in the. There's a few more police here, but it being Glastonbury, they're not really police, and they don't really behave properly like police either. They listen to the street people who obviously know what's going on.
Yeah.
They actually listen to the needs of actual people who maybe like come here. Maybe they feel like these so-called misfits of society, well, like you do.
Yeah.
And so police listening to people who otherwise might be regarded as the dregs of society, but who certainly are not. It's just the beginning of I think, quite an incredible dialogue. They seem to be quite happy about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, who better to be your eyes on the street than the people who are always there and who know each other? It's a web, but it's a supportive web. I feel safe in Glastonbury because I know the people who are on the street.
Yeah, that's right.
I love the people who are on the
course.
street, and they love us back.
Yeah.
That's what makes Glastonbury so
Really?
beautiful.
Okay, well, that's the starting point. This, by the way, is what I like about most. It's coming from the bottom up.
Yes, it does though. It does. And everyone looks out for each other. I've seen it. It's almost like it doesn't even need to be spoken. It's just through eye contact sometimes. And everyone's sort of going, I see you, I've got you. It's fine.
There was one thing
And it
I was.
bounces.
If you find out, that's amazing. As someone who's come there, I'm not cynical, but so I find everything somewhat of a struggle, and attempt to be kind. I don't know if I make it. I attempt the music to not be a message, but to be a spacecraft.
A perspective.
Get in, get on board, or something like that. Like, kick
Let's
out the
go on
jams.
adventure,
Let's
yeah.
go, breathe, feel.
Escape with me for a little while.
Escape
take
into
10
reality.
Minutes. Yes, take 10 minutes out of your
create
life.
a new reality more than escape. I'd like to shove my tuppence in there. The dream to reality. It's not an escape for me. It never has been since like the infant days. It's not an escape. I don't have a desire to. There's nowhere to escape to.
Yeah, sail into reality.
Ooh, like the elves. They went to the
Sail.
Grey Havens. Could they sail back here? Could they sail? Could the journey be actually just within the ripples of our own heart itself? I mean, Tolkien has them as sailing out, and there's loads of stuff. They've had a heavy time with Sauron, and they've even killed each other, and they head off at the end of a certain age out of Middle Earth for the time of the second born, the men. to take residence more in Middle Earth or here. That the so-called the age of the magic might have faded so much. But these are of course stories. But maybe not. And how much awareness and light. Elf. A light. I do believe this is like hell. Is like, of course, an inferno in Christianity, but Helios is in fact the sun is the source of light. So, angel, Elohim, these beings of light.
Yeah.
When humans become beings of light, I don't see so much chaos in my life. So I'll have to be light and dark, but the elves, their name would certainly be of indicating lightness of being and song, consciousness to me. So all these things, maybe they sail off in the heart into the voids of our traumas. I don't never specific, but I'd certainly would want these archetypes to flow back into our lives, mythically.
But aren't they just a dimension that you can tap into through
That's
song
what we're
and
saying.
verse? Yeah.
That's what we're saying. Just a dimension.
I mean, they're ever present. They're always there. And that's sort of part of what your gift is that someone could be walking down the street and you're singing a song and you take them there. So,
It's in the song. It's nothing that you can prove, is it? That you're going to take them or they're to prove the existence of such and such.
well, you
beings
offer
of
them the
light or-
opportunity. You
But-
offer the chance.
The chance of what? The chance to
Sail away.
sail away.
Yeah.
Sail away into the present, into the now, if you like. I've got this thing that's
Center. Yeah.
yeah, it's like if it is an away or a far away, that's kind of far away. It's a bit more inaccessible. Would you call that another form of alienation? So far away. People are so far away from each other. It's designed like that. Wasn't it like the Indian children were, of America, they were taken to school thousands of miles from their parents in order so they could learn reality about, I don't go with that. I'm not really into school or anything. I'm into people coming here.
Yeah. Well, Glastonbury is a mystery school.
Well, you're hitting on it there. Did we touch on before you were talking about a bardic guild or something, and I would go, well, that sounds really boring.
Yes.
I
called it the Guild of
It
Bards.
does sound rather boring to me, but I've got the idea that people do need to hold each other.
Yeah.
There is a body of study that needs to be upheld because it's all that we have of a lot of stuff that we have passed down is by Christian sources or the Roman sources. This is all we have because the guys back in the Bronze Age or whatever, they didn't write stuff down or they had runes, but more latterly. So we only have kind of echoes of some of these ancient stories. I've been privileged really to live in a time when there's things going on that I felt to get involved with, environmental protests and things like that. I'm not sure quite what's going on now exactly. I don't like marching as a gang or in a logo. Back in the day we just did things pretty raw and spontaneous and without logos or people telling us how to do stuff particularly. My heart goes with where's this going? With the yew groves as a college or a guild. The yews would be the old colleges. I suppose if you've got books, you need a roof in order to enshrine them in so they don't get mouldy. And then you've got a library or a bardic library. Maybe you make that into a school where people can go and study. In Ireland, there was the Hill of Tara, the Hill of Kings. And that was a place of study. And here's another magician who's wandering past.
May the goddess shine on you, bless you,
Absolutely.
keep you cool.
And may thy reefers ever be long. Take care, oh magician. Yes, the Bardic School Guild. There are scholars here who know, and I attempt to be as scholarly as I can be in making my poems. So I don't make them out of channeling. I make them up out of plagiarizing old scripts and ripping them off. And
But bards aren't scholars, you're artists. You're somewhere in between, aren't you? You're in the grey.
I don't want. Yeah, I either want to have lived it or it to have come from some source. Whereupon I will. Oh, I just have a difficult with this word channeling. I guess it might be the same thing.
It's
storytelling.
Yes.
But I don't like get it from a higher source or somewhere. I don't know where that would be. I make up stories, and it's actually the higher source is the mirroring, if you like, of people's actions I see around me. The people that I know, I'll see them do feats that I regard as epic and bardic. It doesn't always or often happen, but from time to time, people I know do epic things, and this gets chronicled in archetype in my stories. It might seem made bigger in life, but I don't think about things this way. Larger than life. I think people can be as large or as small as they want to be, especially if you start getting into archetypes and myths. I've never seen a myth and I've never seen an archetype, but they're walking around tall.
Oh, there are so many archetypes in Glastonbury. You've got the archetype of Joseph of Arimathea.
Yeah,
You've got the archetype of Merlin.
He pops around, yeah. It's not strictly here, but yeah. Everywhere.
You've got the Morgana archetypes, you've got the Guinevere archetypes, you've got the knights, all the knights, the round table. What's your favourite thing about the stories of King Arthur?
The end of it.
But he never died, really, did he? He still lives on in people's spirit.
Alrighty. The sword Excalibur, Merlin, which is a name also, an epithet for the actual land, Merlin. He says to Arthur when Arthur's there, he says, "Well, Arthur, which shall you have, the great sword Excalibur or the scabbard?" And he says, "Well, I'll have the sword, thank you very much." And he says, Merlin goes, "Tom, bad choice. The scabbard was used for you to keep the sword in, so you don't need to take it out." And sort of a symbolic restraint or something like that.
Yeah.
And the reason I like the end of the stories is this is when they've endured all these Mallory Christianized agonies of torments of love and triangular relationships and questing for maidens and going and killing monsters and each other and the Holy Grail, which does for them proper, and then and he's fallen out with Morgana, who was not evil, she was twisted, understandably, borderline personality.
Open asylum. Welcome to Glastonbury.
Yeah, Morgana Le Fay, and but she's like most borderline people, incredibly wise and very, very magical with it because they're very aware on many levels. But anyway, her and Guinevere and Vivian or Nimue, whichever name of the Lady Lake, they're all in the barge, the Royal Curragh, the coracle, heading down the River Brue before it was rediverted into a little mincing little brook, whatever it is, an irrigation canal between fields, that ameliorated the healing each other within the barge that is heading to Avalach, which is said to be the crystal caves, maybe out Atlantis way in the ocean beyond Lys, beyond Lyonesse. Over to sea, in the same direction as those elves. Hello, Michael. Yeah. So that's the bit that I like about the myth of Arthur, is the end of it. And the women who may be going, hey, we're going to need a different kind of warrior archetype for this. the warfare that we would conduct nowadays would annihilate like everything. So the warfare that we would have nowadays, they have to downgrade it, like they use depleted uranium tips and things. They can't actually let off a whole bomb, or they would do.
Yeah.
Anyway, a bit of subtlety needed. If we could, it doesn't seem like there's much hope at all, especially as the atom bomb and all that. So that's only part of the beginning of the toxins that have manifested on the earth and the ways that people gain power at the present moment, or they use it. However, I'm putting forward, and I'd rather not bother to think another way, the bardic tip would be the ticket to, sort it out.
Yeah.
And if that was a story, I'd rather have that story than annihilation void. But it's not as if I don't stare square into that. Every breath that I take, every note is to do. We're living in the atomic age, in the present moment, with proliferation of nuclear weapons, and Hinkley Point, just over 19 miles away, being expanded, or maybe it's not going to be expanded. Thank you very much. Maybe it's all going to fall apart. All the deals that they made, selling England off to the Chinese, bless them, and to the French with the EDF. I mean, we've got a husk. We have nothing left. Margaret Thatcher stamped out the festivals and then made that into all that we have in this country. It's the only. We're going to have 3 festivals. We saw that it was good. We just stamped them out when they were free and made them into corporate, massive things that are very top heavy. And Glastonbury has the biggest one in the world here, is it? Which one feels very alienated from as a local person after you've been there quite a lot of times.
It's not even in Glastonbury, it's in
Pilton Pop
Pilton.
Festival.
Yeah.
Glastonbury Festival, TM. But that goes on. But I did meet a woman here. After the solstice here, no festival. She would have come to the festival for the first time. Wasn't on. So she came anyway. And I saw her a couple of days after the solstice, where people were banging cutlery and drums and keening to the moon like banshees up in the Tor, dancing around, just with nothing, no infrastructure.
Yeah.
And she said to me, as I sat there with my harp telling a story on the street, she said that she didn't. The trappings of the rest of the Glastonbury Festival at large was meaningless. She didn't need them. She'd come to Glastonbury to be with people and to have a good time. It wasn't necessary that there was a whole metal structures breathing fire and acts of any kind to pay and go and see, or circus of any kind, or music that wasn't generated by the people who were there, or it was all or hamburger stalls or vegan vegetable stores or whatever. It was all just the hill, nature, the earth currents, dancing, banging sticks together, whammo. That was it. We didn't need anything more. She didn't need anything more. Hello. Yeah.
Thank you for that wonderful interview, Pock. That was brilliant.
Thank you.
And I look forward to doing a series part 2 soon.